and welcome to my channel. I make faith-related videos about all sorts of different topics, so you guys should totally go and check out my previous videos and subscribe. Hit that exciting subscribe button. You will get notifications every single time I post a video like this. But for today, I'm going to be doing something totally different, and I'm just going to be telling you guys some amazing stories about how God helped me raise money to go on a missions trip. So a year and a half ago, I was around 15, 16 years old. I was in the 10th grade, and I had the opportunity to go on a missions trip with my youth group to Burkina Faso, West Africa. And when I saw the price tag for that trip, I was like, there is no way this girl is gonna raise that kind of money, because I was never into fundraisers. I hated school fundraisers, and I hated asking people for money. And I just looked at that price tag and thought it was way too overwhelming, and no, I am not doing that. But my parents kept encouraging me to go. You know, my youth group friends gave me some good pressure to go, and just different people in my church kept encouraging me to go on the trip. And so I decided to step out in faith and say, okay, God, I'm not really sure if I'm gonna be able to get this money together, but I'm gonna try. So the first thing that I did, which is pretty standard what most people do, I sent out letters to people that I knew asking for them to donate towards my trip. And I hated sending out those letters. I hated writing the letters. I hated the idea of asking people for money. I was so afraid of what they would think of me, and I was so afraid that people would somehow be offended that I asked them for money. And honestly, some of the people that I sent a letter to, I was afraid they wouldn't remember who I was. So it was so scary, but you know, I just had to come to a point where I had to put down my pride and just humble myself and send out those letters and ask for help, because I knew I couldn't get all the money together on my own. And so, lo and behold, a couple weeks later, checks started coming in the mail, and it was pretty crazy to me. I was just honestly shocked that people would give me this kind of money just because I sent them a letter and asked them to. But it was totally God working. And so actually the first check that I ever received, I hadn't gotten any money before for the missions trip. Actually, the first check paid for 10% of the trip. It was one of the biggest checks that I got the entire time I was fundraising, and it was just so amazing to me that God would send that huge amount of money my way as just the very first check. And it was so encouraging and reassuring, and God was just basically saying, Anna, have faith, I will take care of you, and I will make sure that you raise the money for this trip if you just trust in me. So another thing that I did to raise money was I actually made these cakes, and I sold them for $15 a piece, and that was how I got a lot of my money. So a lot of people, actually, there were at least several that I can remember for sure, that they would order 2 cakes, and instead of giving me $30, they gave me $100, which was insane to me. And I was kind of like, okay, I know these cakes are good, but I don't think they're that good. But obviously people were just donating towards my trip, and it was just so amazing. They would give such a big amount towards my trip in just exchange for 2 cakes. So that was super cool. But the story that I really want to tell you guys about that has just really stuck with me, it happened just a couple of weeks before the trip. So at this point, I knew I was gonna go on the trip, so I was packing, I was getting together last minute things, but I was still $100 short of my goal. I still needed $100 to go on the trip. And I knew, I wasn't gonna get left behind. Worst come to worst, I knew that my parents would probably pay the last $100, or they would come out of somewhere. But I really wanted my parents not to feel like they had to pay that money. So I prayed to God, and I asked him, would you please send this money to me through someone who's not my parents? Because at that point, my parents had already donated towards my trip. They had already helped me with all the different areas of getting my money together, and I just really didn't want them to feel like they had to pay that money for me. I really wanted it to come from someone who just wanted to give me money towards my trip. So I prayed that prayer, and it was literally I want to say 2 or maybe even just 1 week before the trip. And I prayed that prayer, and a couple days later, a cake order came in. And at that point, I hadn't really been advertising that I was selling the cakes anymore. I was kind of done with that. So at that point, it just seemed so annoying to me. I had a very bad attitude about it, and I was like, God, why do you want me to make these cakes? I don't need $30, I need $100, and I need a job that will give me $100. I don't want to be making these cakes. I don't have time to make these cakes. This is such a nuisance. I am so tired of making these. So I made the cakes anyways with kind of a bad attitude, and I don't remember the details, but there were some difficulties with getting the cakes delivered and trying to figure out with the person how I was going to meet up with them, and I was just beyond annoyed. I was like, God, why would you have me doing this? I'm so busy with other things. I don't want to be doing this. So I did it anyways, and I finally got the cakes delivered, and lo and behold, guys, guess how much money I got for those cakes? I did not get $30 for those cakes. Those people donated $100 towards my trip, exactly how much I needed, which was crazy to me. And I remember just crying when I realized what had happened, and just realizing like God had helped me raise all that money. Until the end, I was still doubting Him. I was still doubting that God would send me $100 through someone who was not my parents, but He did. God answered my prayer, and He totally did that for me, and it was just so cool. And probably one of the coolest parts of that story was that the family that actually gave me that money, they were missionaries themselves, and they were raising money to go to their field. So they decided to be generous and give money towards my missions trip, and that just totally shocked me. And honestly, like, I could not comprehend how people could be so generous. And obviously all the glory goes to God, and I was just so excited that I got that last bit of money that way. And God just used that trip in my life to just work in my heart, and it was just such a great experience. The whole fundraising process taught me so much, and the trip itself as well. So those are my super cool stories of how God worked in my life to help me raise money for my missions trip. And I just wanted to share that with you guys to encourage you, if there's a missions trip you want to go on and the price tag looks huge, please do not doubt God. If it is His will for you, He will get that money together. He will help you do it, and you will totally be able to go, because God is just so powerful. And I hope these stories were encouraging for you guys today. And I mean, just telling this to you guys just makes me so excited. So anyways, I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you in the next video.